Here are 3 truths. The suburbs can be lonely. Intimacy isn't always sweet. And, as the writer Mary Cantwell once said, marriage, at least in the beginning, requires 3 people. The third provides the glue. Anthony and I lived in a suburb, the kind where everyone is friendly, but no one really seems to be a friend. We were in year 6 of our marriage, so we needed glue. We didn't talk, and our anger was mounting. We needed an outlet, and we chose our neighbor Gary. We didn't call him by his actual name, though. We called him Blocker. He parked his car on the sidewalk. Big deal. But minor drama is the lifeblood of the suburbs. He was an opportunity. And Anthony and I seized it. We needed glue desperately that year. In James M. Honeycutt's research article, Differences in Imagined Interactions, he provides that sharing as a marital ideology can be associated as a secure attachment and negatively associated as an anxious, ambivalent attachment. Sometimes, a person in your life can be said attachment. In this New York Times editorial Modern Love, we examine the villains in our lives and how, although they are supposed to cause us ruin, it is rarely discussed the antagonists that actually enrich your life. After all, the villains always help the heroes grow in the end. It Took a Villain to Save Our Marriage by Teresa Difalco. The petty details. Blocker had a 2-car garage and full driveway, but preferred to park his black SUV on the sidewalk. So anyone who wanted to go on the sidewalk in front of his house had to walk into the street to get by. I walked up and down that hill to the park every day. And one day I noticed one of his windows was open. So I stepped off the sidewalk in front of his house and shouted, "Get off the sidewalk!" Locker's response was prompt. He banged on our door one day, so I opened it. He wore faded jeans and a t-shirt, and if not for the fact that he looked crazed, like he'd killed a man in Reno, he was attractive, okay? He didn't bother with pleasantries, however. "If you have a problem, come deal with it to my face." We had already dealt with it to his face. No matter, he grew aggressive fast, shouting expletives at us in broad daylight. And Anthony gave it right back to him. This was the year that I felt trapped, like Rapunzel on the top of the hill, lonely and invisible, until Anthony came in to my defense. This went on for months to come until Anthony and I bought a house in a new town. Not because of Blocker, but when Anthony and I have problems, we throw change at it. But when the open house signs we posted around the neighborhood began to go missing, we naturally assumed that Blocker had been behind it. I actually harbored a secret thought that he didn't want us to go. Then one night, when Anthony went silently to bed, we were in the worst kind of fight, the kind you walk away seething. I fumed and drank a little too much wine. So while the rest of the block kissed goodnight, I stomped down to Blocker's house and pounded on his door. He opened it, shirtless and calm. It unnerved me. I'm sure I looked crazed, my face puffed up. Stop stealing our signs! There was this shift. It was he who had the advantage now. I was on his porch and drunk. But Blocker didn't seem angry. No, as he should have been. We stood inches apart. There was this intimacy to our strange hatred. Look, he said, I didn't take your signs seriously. The city picks them up sometimes, and I know where they put them. I can show you if you want. No, I don't want. But I thanked him and walked home, both shaken and comforted, knowing that Anthony would kill me if he knew I crossed enemy lines alone. I never told him. We moved without having said a word, and a year later, just last month, I got a phone call from an old neighbor. I have kind of weird news, she said. Gary's dead? He hung himself? I couldn't breathe, and my heart it seemed to stop. And there was no way, no Blocker. He wouldn't do that. He was Teflon. He was something that couldn't break. He was stronger than all of us. But he wasn't. Oh, he was probably near his breaking point, and maybe it was even obvious. I had just been too caught up in our strange dance to see it. After all, I wasn't supposed to care about him. We were enemies. But then I remember the first time he showed up on our doorstep. Lonely and angry and terrifying. And I think that's all he could do. It was this violent, profane tirade against us, the world, as it turned out. And it broke my heart. But in my mind, I give us this closure I desperately wished I could have achieved in real life. We're on his porch, sharing a beer, making small talk. I say thank you, but it also means I'm sorry. He understands, though.